A very good morning to you. It is another beautiful Wednesday morning the Lord has given us. Thank you so much for tuning in to this program. It is the Financial Clinic on Jan 316 every Wednesday between 8 and 9 on Family TV and Family Radio 316. We talk on issues of finances. My name is James Okumu. This month of February, we've been talking about retirement and looking at the whole retirement issue from different perspectives and just talking about how to prepare for it, what you need to do to put in place financially, But today we don't want to look at the finances as much. Today we want to look at the mind, psychologically. How does retirement affect somebody psychologically, and how do you need to prepare for it? I remember last week when we were having a conversation and the guest said something that for me was really interesting. She was sharing about this individual who retired, and he didn't tell his family. He continued waking up in the morning and going to work. According to his family, Daddy ameenda kazini, my husband has gone to work. Unfortunately, he died. And the wife was calling the office to let them know so-and-so will not be coming in today because, man, unfortunately, he's gone into eternity. And she was shocked to learn that so-and-so retired 3 years ago. And the wife is thinking, 3 years amekuwa akienda wapi? So retirement affects people differently, psychologically. How does it affect people? We'll get to talk about that on today's show. So you who's retired, how was the experience like for you? Especially the first couple of months into retirement, first couple of weeks into retirement. How did that affect you psychologically? And what are some of the things you did to get to the place of stability? That's what I need to hear from you this morning as we engage in this conversation. I've got an amazing guest. I will be introducing him to you in the next short while as we dig deeper into this whole discussion. Remember, once again, my SMS line is 20316. WhatsApp number is 0786 316 316. Kama umestaafu, tell me your story. I am eager to hear what you have to say. Now, this morning on the Financial Clinic, retirement. We are wrapping up our series for this month looking at retirement. But today we are not focusing on the money aspect. We are focusing on the mind because it's really, really important. How does retirement affect you psychologically, and how do you prepare for that? I have a message here from Phoebe. Phoebe in Nyeri. Phoebe is a good friend. Phoebe retired, and she's saying when she retired, it was like the wind and flood combined. Phoebe, you need to explain that one to me because I have no idea how that feels like. This morning, we are so glad to be joined by Kenneth Kariuki. Kenneth Kariuki is a psychologist from Hisia Psychology Consultants. Kenneth, it's good to have you back on the show again. Karibu.
Thank you. It's also good to be here.
Asante. Retirement.
Yeah.
When we talk about retirement, watu wengi tunafikiria tu pesa itatoka wapi, niendelee kuishi hii maisha mzuri. But I'm wondering, how does retirement affect somebody psychologically?
Now, there are several things that we need to look at when we're talking about retirement. I would like to look at retirement not as an end of a career, but as a change in career.
Ooh. Why is that important?
Because it's very important to do that because most of the time, if you look at most people being affected, like that lady who has just talked about a flood and fire mixing together.
Yeah.
The problem is they think retirement as an end.
Mm-hmm.
Retirement is not supposed to be an end. It's supposed to be just a change in how you do your career.
Okay.
And also the definition of a career. A career is not just a job. It is a meaningful activity that you take throughout your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that though you might change jobs, that does not mean that you have changed your career.
Yes.
So the first thing that will affect you psychologically is to think that my career is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you suffer from a loss. And this loss, as you have said, does not begin when you retire, but as you're moving closer to retirement.
Yes.
I went some time back to see how the civil servants are being paid nowadays. The payslip comes with a message that you have 5 years, 5 months, and 3 days.
Are you serious?
Retirement.
Are you serious?
That's happening.
That's bad.
That's happening.
What?
That's happening. So you can imagine when that comes, it's a way of kind of preparing you for your retirement.
Yeah.
But if you are thinking about this retirement as an end of your career, then it means you're suffering a major loss.
Yes.
So there is, first of all, the feeling of loss. There is the feeling of grief.
Oh.
Now, again, you have to grieve, actually. Now, let us look what does a job give you? A job gives you an identity. Like, like when you're introducing me, you're saying, Kenneth Kariuki is a psychologist.
Yes.
I like to call myself a family therapist and all that. It gives me an identity. Now, imagine losing that identity one day. And you're no longer being called that psychologist. Maybe you are going to the office, everybody is calling you sir.
Yes.
Now you're going back to the village where everybody calls you by name. It's a great loss.
Yes, it is.
You're losing a whole social status. So it's not just about losing the money. It's a very big loss that you're going to go through. Now, retirement also, the other way of looking at retirement is to look at retirement as a social change. You're going to change your the way you associate with people, the people that you talk to. If you go to your work, you make friends during work. Some of our careers involve seeing a lot of people, communicating to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now we are saying you're going back and you're not going to be meeting these people. Your social life is going to change. That change in social life in itself can be very demanding.
Okay.
Just imagine like in a normal career, like an office career, you wake up in the morning, you prepare yourself, you go to the bus stop, you go to your job, to your workplace, you have associates, you have people that you communicate to. Most likely your neighbor doesn't know you.
Yes.
Because you wake up in the morning and go.
Yes, even him.
You come back in the evening.
Yes.
And he goes. You come back in the evening, it's late. So you have no time even to talk to them. And now we are saying you will be with this neighbor every day of your life.
Yeah.
And for the rest of your life. So, so you can imagine that change in social life.
Okay.
And one of the things about retirement is, even as you prepare financially and all that, you need to be thinking of, what will I be doing with my time?
Okay. I want to ask a question, because the way retirement has been packaged to maybe my generation, because when I talk to the now generation about retirement, they're looking at me and thinking, retire for what? As we will never retire. Them, they have a very different concept. For us, the way retirement was given to us, it's almost like you're done in the city, you're no longer good for this city, uende Geshagi. And that's why our parents keep pushing us, umejenga nyumba, ukistaafu utaenda wapi? Nairobi siyo kwenyu. You know, so there's always this picture of, I'm good for nothing, no one needs me in this city anymore, I have to go back home. And for a good number of us, it becomes a thing we resist, because all our lives, we were born in this city. This is home for us. And like our parents who were born in Geshagi and then they came to the city, so they always look at Geshagi as their home. For a good number of my generation, we look at Nairobi as our home. So you're telling me in return, Yende Geshagi, to do what? I don't know what you would say to that.
I would also ask the same question. We are going back to do what?
Yes.
Like after you have gone to for your retirement, you're out of this work. And remember what I said. Retirement is a change in career. It's not necessarily an end in career. So if you're going to change your career and go back home, what are you going to change in terms of your work? What are you going to? And then when you have nothing that maybe you have planned to be doing afterwards, then it becomes very frustrating.
Yeah.
However, it is interesting to note that even in some careers, in career development, people who have developed their careers throughout their life become most successful after the age of 60. That means that it is not the end of life. It could be even the beginning of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. The United States president right now should be, if we look at it, should be going home, should be retired.
And he's just beginning.
And he's just beginning.
Yes.
And actually he's at the climax of his political career. You know, so it doesn't necessarily mean that that things have come to an end. And this is the notion that we are always given, even when we are being prepared for retirement. We are being prepared that, you know, now you're going to go home. Now you need to think about what to do. You need to start rearing chicken and rear them, so that so that by the time you're told to go home, they have started laying eggs. So you have something to sell.
Yes.
And yet we are talking about people who have got a whole experience of a career life. They have maybe a 40 years experience, 30 years experience. They're so much experience that if they took that career to the next level, they would even do better than we would think.
Very true.
But what you have been told about retirement is like, leave that job now, go and start doing something else, which you might not be even very familiar with.
Okay.
Of course, I understand there are also some careers where, unless you're employed, you cannot function in any other way.
Yeah.
But look at it that like, just start finding, what can I do with myself?
Okay.
Other than the job that I'm doing.
Okay.
That would help you to transit.
Oh, yeah. Shortly, we'll talk about how that grief period, you talked about it's a loss, you have to go through grief. We'll talk about how does that affect an individual, especially an individual who was not prepared for that. They didn't know that was coming, How does that affect an individual? This morning we are talking about retirement, but we are looking at the psychological aspect of retirement. How does one get affected psychologically, and how do you prepare for that? If you have any questions for us, 20316 SMS line, WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. If you are enjoying your retirement, let us know, how was that transition like for you psychologically? We could learn a thing or two from your experience. It is a lovely Wednesday morning. Financial Clinic, wrapping up our theme for this month. The whole month we've been talking about retirement and looking at it from different angles. Today we are wrapping up by looking at the psychological effects of retirement. How do you prepare for that? And I have messages coming in. I have Phoebe in Nyeri. Phoebe in Nyeri is saying, my friend, Nairobi and other African cities are very unfriendly to the elderly. This is unlike the developed world. And note please, retired people tend to be elderly most of the time. If I imagine going to Nairobi CBD, I start sweating. Oh, Phoebe, Paul sana. This morning I'm hanging out with Kenneth Kariuki, who's a psychologist from Hisia Psychology Consultants, and he's helping us gain a deeper understanding of how retirement affects you psychologically. So, Kenneth, I was asking you earlier, for that person, because you talked about this is some kind of a loss because there's a particular way of life you've been living and now you're losing it, and so you go through this process of grieving. For that person who doesn't have that understanding, how does this whole thing affect them?
It will affect them in different ways. There are people who will go through a process of denial. Like the story you introduced us to of 3 years. This means this is somebody who has been gone for denial for the last 3 years.
Yes.
And it is, denial is like a natural response to grief. When it is prolonged, then it becomes dysfunctional because you cannot continue living the same lifestyle.
Yes.
That you are living, and yet maybe you cannot afford it, and people around you also cannot kind of cope with it. I have also had people who, after retirement, go back to their workplace and they just want to be respected the same way they were being respected.
Yeah.
They're wondering, why aren't you opening doors for me? Why am I being denied access and all that? And that is denial. There are also people who will express their grief through anger. You get angry with everyone. You will get angry with the people at home. You might be annoyed also because of the person who took that position. Who took up your position. You want to know whom they are.
They become your enemy.
You want to know, they become your enemies. You don't want to talk about them anymore. You might be annoyed also with maybe even the city. For the city for denying you the chance. Maybe you could afford so many things, now you cannot afford them. People used to greet you, now they don't greet you, and you become annoyed with all these people. So anger can be directed to very different people at this particular time. Now, with anger, you can also start bargaining. People bargain by saying, just in a few years or so, they will be stuck, then they will call me and I will go back to my job.
Yes.
They are bargaining with the situation.
Yes.
Well, that is not the case, or you might be bargaining by saying, even if I don't work there, I'll find another company that will also give me the job, because not all companies refuse older generations and so on and so forth. So you'll try to look for ways of bargaining. There are people who also try to bargain back into their work. You write a letter saying, if you have anywhere, any position you can give me.
I will do
anything. I will do anything. The person is still in the process of bargaining, trying to see whether they can go back in a different way to their former status.
Okay.
The problem with that is that it might lead to a lot of frustration. All these ways of grieving might lead to a lot of frustration and end up in being a person being depressed.
Okay.
So you can have older generation. You can have older generation being depressed because of the loss that they are going through.
Okay. I'm just wondering, for family members around this individual, how can we help them? Because we may not have an understanding of what they're going through. You know, they want to go back to their office, and we're thinking, siwende tu nyumbani. In fact, I've had this a lot. Sasa si umestaafu, siwende tu oshago. You know, uko na shamba, uko kuna nyumba. We'll take care of you, but they're struggling to make that transition. How do you help them?
Yeah, the first thing is to understand what is happening around this time in the life of an individual.
Yeah.
Apart from the retirement, there is a lot that is going on in the life of this individual. Now, we always say that they either will develop some integrity or a despair. Now, how this happens is you are looking back at your whole life. Since you were young, you started working, you did so many things. We had so many goals.
Yeah.
And I remember maybe stating here the last time I was here that our opportunities keep narrowing as we age.
Yes.
So as a younger person, you had so many opportunities, but you'll have to lose some along the way. You have so many dreams, but some dreams will be lost along the way. So by the time you are 60, 70, you can imagine how much you have lost.
Yeah.
You have been losing and gaining at the same time.
Yeah.
The tendency of us looking at the negative side of our lives is very high. So we kind of, even when we achieve a lot, we kind of look at what we did not achieve.
Yes.
And focus a lot on that. So this is a person who will be looking back and looking at what they did not achieve. And now they have no time. And that would lead a lot of frustration and despair. So you can imagine all that, and then finally, you have lost a job.
Yeah.
So one of the things that family members can do is to help this individual look at also what they have gained. Help them look at what also they have, the successes they have made, instead of just looking at the losses that they have done. It is also good to reaffirm them. Because again, you see, so most people, when they go to retire, the next thing they're thinking about is, I'm dying soon.
Yeah.
And you'll hear people saying, you know, once you frustrate me like this, you family members, you're making my ears to reduce. If you can, and they become very manipulative. They think that you're going to kill them.
Yes.
But the idea is, you really have a long time to live. It is like, you know, if you're going to live for the next 20, 30 years, that's a long time to live.
Yeah.
The person born when you're retiring means that they'll already have gotten a job by the time you leave this earth. So that's a whole lifetime. So you have a whole lifetime to live. I have seen some people trying to say, you don't look as old, you don't look like, you don't look those number of years. I don't think that would help.
Okay.
Because age is not the way I look. If I'm 60, the thing is just to say it is not the end of life, and helping them to understand that this is not the end of life, and that there are successes that they have made, and maybe they can focus on those. It is good to give them a listening ear, understanding, because at this age, somebody would like somebody who would listen more to them, who would talk more to them. You know, they would like to have a lot of company.
Yeah.
They also enjoy each other's company because they kind of remember things of old. You know, like when you go home, you meet your retired father or mother. They will tell you things of old.
Yes.
Things that used to happen.
Oh,
we used to do this. We used to do that. That is very important at that age, because they're coming into terms with the changes that are happening. You have heard one of our viewers saying that Nairobi, it's not very friendly.
Yes.
This is because of the changes that are happening. And during this age, it's time that you're not very fragile, and, you know, like you're not very elastic. So change to you means a lot.
Right.
And therefore, they like to remember how things were long ago. There was no building here. There was no road here. This is the way we used to walk. Let them give those stories, and actually encourage them to give those stories, because they kind of make them more comfortable with the situation. So I think family members can come in to encourage this individual that, you know, this is not the end of life, but still life can go on. In extreme cases where maybe you can see signs of depression, signs of stagnation, because some people get stuck, maybe that is to ask for professional help.
In fact,
to help this individual.
In fact, on that whole issue of depression, I have a comment here from Lucy. Lucy in Thika says, I voluntarily retired in 2018 March. I thought I was prepared, but culture shock set in and I went into depression for the better part of 2019 and 2020, but now I'm coming to terms.
Exactly. I think depression is one stage of grief.
Okay.
So it is not necessary that everybody who gets into depression maybe would need some medication or anything, but that should be checked upon, I think, by a professional to determine.
Yeah.
But it is one part of the grieving process. The good thing is that after depression, what comes is acceptance. So after going through this period, and when people are depressed during this period because of loss, they might not want people around them. They may not want people to talk a lot.
Yeah.
They may just want you to just sit there and listen to them. And this is quite important, to know what do they want with their life.
Okay.
What do they want? What kind of help would they want? Sometimes we think we know what the people want, but we have to ask them what they really want to do with their life. Because, like you are saying, people will say, there is nothing left for you here in the city. Go back to Mashambani. We can buy you a goat from Somalia, which has got a lot of milk, milking these goats, you'll do what?
Yes.
And maybe that is not what is in their mind.
Yeah.
That is not what they want. It's always good to ask them, what do you want? And then when you know what they want, you can build up on.
Okay.
You can actually support them to do what they feel is right for them.
Wow, I like that.
Right?
This morning we are talking about retirement, looking at the psychological effects of retirement, asking you if you've retired to share your experience with us. How was the transition period like for you? And also, if you have any question, 20316 is the SMS line. WhatsApp number is 0786 316 316. We are talking about retirement psychological effects, hanging out with Kenneth Karaoke, psychologist from Hisia Psychology Consultants. Your questions are coming in and also your responses to this conversation. This one says, Pasi, this is so true. Imagine we had a colleague who came back after terminal leave only to find another staff on her seat, and she really cried, claiming the organization increased her age. Later, after 6 months, she passed away. Oh my goodness, that is sad. That is sad. That is sad. Oh my goodness. I'm just wondering, even as we continue with this discussion, how does one prepare for this aspect of retirement? Because I think it's an aspect that we neglect. Matters mental health, we don't really talk a lot about them, because I'm just trying to imagine when I go on leave. When I go on leave and maybe I've taken my whole leave combined together, something which is very rare, and I'm at home for like 20 days, I get to a space where I'm feeling like, no, I need to go back to work because everybody else is going back to work and I'm left home alone. So I'm imagining if that now becomes my everyday routine, you kind of feel useless. You kind of feel like people are going on with your lives and you're stuck here. So I'm just wondering, how does one prepare psychologically for this phase of life?
I think there are several things that we need to focus on. One, when we talk about retirement, most people will talk about preparedness in terms of start a new business, start a new kind of save some money so that you're not left like that. So people prepare very well, and people are being enlightened a lot about how to prepare financially.
Yes.
However, there is an aspect that we always forget, that there is the psychological preparedness. And preparing yourself for the social life that is also going to go through a radical change.
Yes.
Okay. If I was to start up a business, say, for example, in my estate, it would mean that I'll have to learn how to associate with those people, start with new friends, start socializing with people whom I was not socializing with, maybe meet with different personalities, and so on and so forth. So one of the things that we need to start to do is to start preparing our families fast.
Oh.
Because they will be the next support system.
Yes.
And there is something that happens in the family. We say that in the family, there are always social debts that we have. And these debts have to be paid. Yeah?
Yes.
So, for example, if let me just use an example of myself. If my wife needs maybe some attention from me, she has a right to receive attention from me. That means I'm indebted to give her attention.
Yeah.
That's a debt that I have.
Okay.
Now, imagine I don't give her that attention. then I remain forever in debt with her. And that debt will have to be paid sometime. So that when I retire and I go back home, I'm going home to a person who feels that I'm indebted, that I need to pay up. And how do I pay up? She says, now this is my time. You didn't give us the attention when we needed it. Now you need it. So it becomes my time. Now you can imagine that rejection that I will face at home when I need that attention at home. And yet when I go back to my workplace, they are telling me, go home.
Yes.
So I'm facing rejection.
Both ends, yeah.
So one of the ways to start preparing is to start forming good relationships at home. Pay those debts. Pay those debts of attention. Pay those debts of maybe you needed to provide, you did not provide. Where you need to express yourself, where you need to say that maybe I cannot provide this because of this and that. Start doing that early enough. Even if your retirement plan is to go back to your home place, start talking to people, and don't be ashamed to say that, I'm retiring soon. I think that is something that is also important.
Yeah.
I'm coming home, I'll be coming to stay, and I would like to meet more people and all that. Just prepare everyone that you're going for retirement, and especially family members, because family members have gotten used to you maybe wearing a suit, going to your work. They have gotten used to you maybe coming with cash every day and all that, and it's going to change. So prepare your family members that this is going to change, and start preparing them early enough, right? So that they start making the proper adjustments that you need. Now, in case you want to start up a business or something like that, I would advise don't start up a business on their day of retire. Find out whether you can start it early enough so that you build the social networks that you need. Yeah. You start building those people that you need to talk to. Also find out whether there are also other people, maybe your age mates who are retiring, and you can start forming friendships with them. This will create a social network that you will need when you're undergoing through the process of loss. This loss of retirement is inevitable, because once you lose your job, you have lost something. Yeah. And therefore you'll go through loss. So what we need to prepare for is to have enough social support, enough psychosocial support for you, where you feel like there are some things that you have not really made up for, or time is not on your side, because that is also something that happens. You work throughout, and then you realize all of a sudden time is not on your side. Yeah. Even as we are talking about this preparedness, time is not on your side. First thing is not to panic. Even if you're going to retire tomorrow, don't panic. Most people will die early because of the panic. Because now it has come to the end of the world. I am not prepared for it, and I don't know what to do about it. You get into a serious depression, and because depression is progressive, it will end up to death. You've not taken well care of. So you need to first of all say, this is not a cause for me to panic. We talk about these transitions. We forget that life is full of transitions. Yeah. I transited from a child to an adolescent, and I made it. Maybe even I wasn't prepared. It just happened. Yes. And then I moved from an adolescent to an adult, who I am today. Who prepared me for that? Some of us were not even prepared. We just went through the transition. Don't forget that even getting that job was also a transition. Yes. Just like losing it is a transition. So just look at, during my transitions, what has been giving me strength? Because there must be sources of strength. Yeah. Maybe people who supported you were your source of strength. Maybe for some people, spirituality was a source of strength for them. So start preparing yourself by asking yourself, what is my source of strength, even as this happens? Yeah. Even if it happens suddenly for you. For some people, it is very sudden, like this time of COVID-19. There are some people who just were forced to retire. Very sudden, they are not prepared. But the first thing, don't panic. Create a social system. There are some people who will find like going to church as a way of creating a social system where you will find support. And that is good, because you're going to be meeting people, they're going to be working together with you. When you need people to talk to, you can find people to talk to. And finally, you can do something for the community. So just giving yourself time to work with the community, I think that is very vital. But as I started with, always start with the family.
Very true. Listen to this message. This is coming in from Sam. Sam says, whenever you talk of retirement age, that is my worst fear in life. There is an accountant who retired in my hometown. He decided not to go to his shags. He made his car a home. The car is tied to a tree. Whenever people see him cooking near his car, they use him as a case study to prepare for retirement. It is sad and funny at the same time.
It is very sad. It's very, very sad. It's very sad. And then, of course, the saddest thing is when you're being used as a case study. Everybody is looking at you and saying, for example, I think that is because then it would bring a lot of stigma. It is also good for us as a society to know how do we handle people who are aging. Because, how do we take aging? How do we take this in our society?
Yeah.
Because if we take aging to be people who cannot make up anything, they cannot do anything for themselves, and the people who are becoming a burden to us, then we would dread being retired. But we can also look at aged people as people who have gathered wisdom through the years.
Yes.
As people who have got a lot of experience that we can learn from. All right. And you can see people who have grown in their careers, they age doing the same career. They have a lot of experience. They have a lot to give.
Yeah.
And therefore, it is not necessarily that aging is a negative thing for us. And of course, when you remember that retired teacher, that retired accountant, and so on and so forth, you kind of have the same kind of stories that we see. But we have also stories of people who succeeded after retirement, people who made it. Look at most of I don't want to mention names, but look at most of the veterinary politicians, the most prominent ones.
Yeah.
They are passed away the age of retirement. So retirement is not a death sentence. This is something that we need to start telling ourselves. It is not a death sentence.
Yeah.
And most of the things that make us suffer during retirement are actually in our mind. Sometimes it has very little to do with the money we have. Because I was reading somewhere where this guy went through a very frustrating career. He was very frustrated throughout his work. His wife left, then he bargained. She came back, and after retirement, he was given about $100 or something like that, and he took that to mean that now he has become useless. And then he went under a tree and asked himself, apart from all the work that I have been doing, what can I do best? And he thought, I can cook. And so he started cooking chicken and selling to the neighborhood. Today, he's a billionaire because of that. By the time he came out of retirement, he had only 100,000. Today, he has become a billionaire because of learning what they can do. So the idea is, instead of looking at myself at the age of 60 from the angle of what I cannot do. Of course, there are so many things I cannot do because I've been losing abilities. I've been aging.
Yes.
But there are also so many other things that I can do. So why should I focus on what I cannot do?
I'm just thinking, is it because this is something that we know it's coming. Even for the people who say they will not retire, there will be some form of transition. When we get into that age, I'm just wondering, is it better for me to manage it myself, other than waiting for circumstances to force me to effect the change? Nikae tu ningoje, then one day, especially now if I'm a civil servant, naangalieka tu pay slip naona 5 years, 3 months, 2 days. Inaenda ikireduce. Is it better for me to start thinking now so that I manage the process and I plan what I want to do and I start getting into it pole pole, as opposed to just waiting one day, this is your last month, adios amigos, see you in the next life?
Yeah, I think it's very important for us to start preparing ourselves early, to know that we are heading there. All of us are aging. And, I remember sharing that we start aging at the age of 25. So you can imagine from the age of 25, you are going towards your retirement. And we start feeling the effects of that aging at around 40 years or so. So you can see that you are progressively moving towards that.
Yeah.
So preparing yourself early is good. And not getting things, like not getting the environment to control you. You should be in control of your environment. One way of getting in control of your environment is to just bring that awareness and accept it, that one day I'll be old, and there is nothing wrong with being old. It's just a natural process. There will be a day when I will have to leave what I do for younger generations to come. And you can see, we always think of retirement in terms of people who are old. There are some careers, like if you took athletics as your career, by the time you are 25, you should be retiring. So retiring is not only for old people. As
very true.
When younger people come in, they come in with a lot of vibrance. They come in with a lot of, with so many other changes. That means that, that they're getting you out slowly by slowly. So when you're thinking about retirement, don't just think that now I have retired because I'm old. No, it just means I have just come out of one style of life to another one. I'm transiting in my life to another kind of lifestyle. So the perception of retirement actually is very important. Most people will get depressed and will get into a lot of anxiety because of the perception that they have of retirement. Can we change mindset about retirement? Can it be like, instead of looking at, I have lost my job, can we look at it as an opportunity that I have to see what else I can do? Because there are a lot of opportunities that would also come with aging. All right. There are a lot of changes that would come with aging, and therefore they can also be positive and they can also be negative. Now, something else to note is that with every change that happens in your life, and especially developmental changes that we go through, there will always be a loss and a gain. All right? So let me just give you an example. The other day I was tying my shoelaces, and my children look at my head and say, "Oh, Dad, you have a bald head." So I'm losing hair. But then you see, that's a loss. Actually, I have to come into terms with that loss. That I'm losing hair. I might even be losing my complexion, the way I used to be when I was young. But then when I come into maybe like a matatu, I'm given a lot of respect. Some time back, I would be told, you jump into the matatu, because they see me as a young person. Today, they have to say, simamishia mzee.
Mzee kapa.
Mzee kapa. I'm even given a seat. So what does that? It means I might be losing on one end, but I'm also
gaining on another.
I'm gaining in terms of respect. So look at it like we have to look at it from a balanced way of life. That even as I retire, yes, I'm undergoing a loss, but I'm also undergoing a gain. And look at the gains more, rather than even focusing on the losses more. There is always a tendency when you have a poor perception of something to go the wrong, like to exaggerate situations.
Very true.
Like that guy living in a car, because of the perception he has of retirement, that could be making him become even more desperate.
Oh my goodness.
So it will affect the choices that you make. Your perception actually is what affects most of the choices that you make. Change your perception, going to change your choices.
Okay. As we finish, because we're out of time, Wanjiko says that retirement is a shocker to self and everyone around the retiree. I had 2 boys in the university. The youngest literally cried when I told them. So it's good not just to prepare yourself, but to prepare everybody around you. What can you say on that as we conclude?
I completely agree, like 100%. Retirement is not just an individual thing. It is everybody around you, including your friends, including your relatives, and most likely mostly your dependents. Like if you have people you're paying school fees for, if you have people that depend on you for their daily bread, you need to tell them, like to prepare them that even though I'm retiring, it doesn't mean that I'll not be able to pay your school fees. I'll not be able to fend for you. And this is the kind of plan that I have. And it's good also to share, this is what I have in mind to secure them. Because, the people who are supposed to support you might be very insecure. And instead of supporting you, they make you worry more.
Wow.
All right? Wow. And it's also important to know that aging is not a sickness. Because most people will say now, you hear most people say, now this one has gone, is growing old, who will be taking him to hospital? Who said you have to go to hospital?
Yeah.
I'm just aging. I'm not sick.
Yes.
It's not a sickness. And anybody can get sick at any time.
Yeah.
So it's good to prepare even the family members to know that you're not becoming a burden to them. And actually, you might be becoming a source of support to them.
Okay.
Right? And some studies have even shown that older people do a lot in terms of supporting younger families who are coming up. So there's a lot that you can do. And just to know that there's a lot that you can do, and that it is okay that you are changing your career from one side to the other.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much, psychologist Kenneth Kariuki from Hisia Psychology Consultants. Always a blessing to talk to you guys. Thank you for always being a part of this show. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We also appreciate a lot that you also consider us and bring us into this show.
Awesome. Gentlemen and ladies, I'm out of time for today. Thank you so much for being a part of the Financial Clinic. I hope this discussion on retirement that we've been having this month of February has been beneficial to you. As we jump into the month of March, will be focusing more on investments and just trying to look at the whole topic on investments from different angles and to see what we can learn and how we can become better. I'm out of time for today. Thank you for tuning in.